So you guys teach this together. Now, what do you do separately? Jeff, what do you do? What is your inclination to?
Well, there are a couple of things that I do, or I will be doing. Number one is something relatively new that I haven't seen any other coaches really getting into, is called transition coaching. And what transition coaching? Well, I'll give a little bit of background into that. My history is in drug and alcohol counseling. I spent about 16 years in the United States doing that, and I have about 20 years in alcohol recovery myself.
Really?
Yep.
So you walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yep. And what I've found in doing that is that I personally reached a point, and I saw other people in recovery reach a point where sobriety, quote unquote sobriety, sort of became a lifestyle. It was continuing to go to meetings, and getting together with recovery groups, and it was sort of a mindset of, well, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life, going to meetings and hanging out with
almost like a crutch.
Yep, hanging out with recovery people, and
is that healthy?
Well, I thought so for a long time, and until I reached a point that I sort of came to the conclusion for myself that it wasn't healthy for me, and there had to be a lot more beyond what I was doing at the time, because I was really starting to engage in some relationships with some unhealthy people, and that included a lot of people who were a long time sober, 15, 20 years, and they were still engaging in some behaviors that really weren't healthy.
They got stuck.
Right. So with the transition coaching, that's one niche that I want to work with is people who are in recovery, but maybe feel like their life is sort of stuck.
Sure.
And I'd like to be able to help them to make that transition out of the recovery mindset, and to see that there really is a little bit more beyond where you're at. So let's sit down together and examine your values, examine the goals that you have for your life, and let's take a look and see what are the stuck points right now for you that are getting in the way of you realizing some of the goals for your life.
And I appreciate what you said. You said it wasn't working for you. It can be a very personalized thing, can't it?
Right.
Because some people can safely go to meetings with other users and other alcoholics that have been recovered for years, and they're okay. But you got to the point where I kind of get the impression that it was stunting your growth a little bit, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah,
that's true. And so I don't want to generalize it to everybody, because there are people who are in recovery and going to meetings and hanging out with recovery people, and that's their life, and they are absolutely happy. So I don't want to generalize, and coaching is not for them because they have a life that's fulfilling for them. Yeah. But really kind of targeting and want to get the message out to maybe the people that their life right now really isn't as fulfilling as they would like it to be. Yeah, and
kind of turning toxic a little bit, right?
Yep. So I'd like to come alongside them and help them to discover what's the more that you're looking for.
Yeah. I really appreciate the work that you two are doing, because what you're doing is you're supporting people's lives. What can be more important? Like, I can go and hire a car mechanic to work on my car. Well, that's my car, and that's got a safety element. If the brakes don't work, I might die. But you're supporting people's lives where, I mean, let's face it. If you're a Christian, you live forever, right? And you're supporting that wonderful connection with God while you're on earth.
Well, we look at it too that you said if you don't take a car to the mechanic, it's going to die.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't pay attention to our lives, we're not going to get as much out of it as we could be. And Jesus said that he came to give us life more abundantly. And so what is the abundant life for us? It's not necessarily about money. For us, it's about finding that joy and the peace and making the most out of every moment. And sure.
It's not about anything else except what you want to make it fulfilling in your life. Something that fills you up.
Sure.
Something that gives you
joy,
the energy and the grace and the great, fantastic.
Yeah, just getting the most out of, making the most of every moment.
Making the most out of every moment.
I think that our life is a gift, and I love that old saying. I can't remember who said it, but they said that your life is God's gift to you, and what you make of it is your gift to God. And so, what kind of a gift are we going to give back to God?
Yeah.
Are we going to give Him back the abundance, or are we going to give Him back just couch potato?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
So, yeah.
Really, we get to make our own rules, right? If we follow certain principles
Sure.
for fulfillment in life. Is that correct, John? And so I'm fascinated about transition recovery, and you said that very few people are doing this in Canada. Is that right?
Yep. I really haven't seen anyone that's specifically focused on transition coaching, and I'm sure there are some that will. Some coaches that when a client comes to them and that's their goal, they're at some type of transition point in their life, that they'll work with that. But someone who specifically says I'm a transition coach, I haven't seen that. So I think it's a field that's ripe for the picking. And,
no, I agree with you completely.
I think that there's also another element to the transition coaching that Jeff hasn't quite hit on yet, and that is about the men in transition as well.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that, Jeff.
Yep. Another key aspect is working, like Janice said, working with men who are in transition. I'm a big believer in the fact that men go through a midlife. Won't necessarily call it a crisis, but we'll call it a transition. They may wonder about job fulfillment. They may wonder about, am I really fulfilled in my family? They may have kids who are grown and getting set to go off to college, or they may wonder about, am I really the husband or the father that I'm supposed to be? And, they may be at a place where they want to sort of redefine their values and the goals for marriage, the goals for the rest of their life, and may need someone to come alongside them and help them to clarify all of that.
Yeah, because if you get the wrong information at that point in your life, you can really do a lot of damage to yourself, can't you? And your family. Everything is fallout from that point. If you could get bad information and act on it, boy, oh boy, you're in trouble pretty quick, aren't you?
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. One, if I can maybe use an example of some, I read something in a book, and I won't note the book, but this man who was in a mid-level management job, and had been going through this midlife transition, and decided that it had received some kind of an inheritance, and decided at that point that he was going to take truck driving classes. And he gave up his mid-level management job that was supporting the family and didn't say anything to the wife about it.
Oh.
And after he was done with the truck driving training, quit his job and rolls up in front of the house with this truck and says, "Honey, we're going to sell the house and we're gonna go out and we're gonna start this cross-country truck driving job. And the wife is absolutely behind him, and there they go off.
She's behind him. She agreed to this.
Off on this quest.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm reading this, and the author is just applauding this guy for his decision, and I'm reading this thinking, oh my goodness.
Thinking I'll never get away with that.
I'm
would have
reading
a
this
hard time with
thinking,
that.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And if a coach or someone like that could have gotten a hold of this guy and say, "Oh, wait a minute, time out. Is maybe it is what this guy really wants to do, and if that's what he wants to do, and if that's the goal that he has in mind, okay, let's help you realize that." But
let's also talk too
let's
about
let's
how this
also
affects
talk
other
about
people.
how that's going to affect your wife. Let's bring your wife maybe into the picture and discover some values that you have in common and some goals that you have in common to really address what you might be going through right now.
Well, yeah.
And none of that seems
you
to
sleep with that
happen.
person. Let's get this straight. You sleep with this person that you're making major decisions in life about, and you didn't even inform her.
I know, right? I don't know. If he was my husband, I'd have a hard time with that.
Oh, I'll
I
bet
really,
you
truly would. And unless this couple had talked about it before, but the book didn't say that. And
Unless
so,
your goals are
I would have a
aligned
hard
together.
time with that.
Yeah, I can see that. So you teach. This is a course you teach on your own, right, Jeff? Transitional training for drug addicts and alcoholics.
Yep, it will be. It initially will be a one-to-one coaching. There may be some workshops that come out of that, but it's not necessarily in the plan right now to do that.
Okay.
So.